Released in Power of the Elements, Spright has an archetype of Fire and Dark Thunder monsters to focus on level 2, Link 2, and Rank 2s. With the powerful effects and synergies, they will quickly rise to Tier 1 status, taking over the OCG. This video aims to document the rise and fall of Spright and the OCG, as well as the adaptations they made in response to the meta and banlist. Welcome to the different flavors of Spright. To understand how Spright rose to the top, we first need to examine what made them so good. Every main deck sprite has the effect to special summon itself from the hand if you control a level 2 monster, with the dark sprites also able to special summon themselves if you control a rank 2, and the fire sprites a link 2. As these were not activated effects, they could not be responded to, meaning that you could not negate it or maxi in response. This made every sprite an amazing extender, giving the deck an incredible ability to play through disruption. Spright Blue and Spright Jet both search a card when special summoned, with Blue searching monsters and Jet searching spells and traps. When combined with Spright Starter, a quick play spell that could special summon a sprite from the deck, this meant that sprites could generate huge advantage by chaining searches together. Both Blue and Jet also had the option of searching out cards that could be used as interruption instead, with Jet being able to search out Spright Smashes for a non-targeting banish, and Blue being able to search out Spright Red or Spright Carrot, which both have quick effects that allow you to negate monsters or spells and traps respectively. This meant that the archetype had easy access to negation, allowing them to protect their combo from hand traps, and even if they were hit by maxi, they could still easily earn on a few interruptions without giving your opponent too many cards. Spright also had incredible recursion through Spright Elf, a link to that had the quick effect to special summon a level 2 monster from your graveyard, or even a link 2 or rank 2 as long as your opponent controlled the monster. Finally, they had Gigantic Spright, a rank 2 Xyz monster that could special summon any level 2 from the deck, which would be the catalyst for the many variants of Spright we would end up seeing. The incredible consistency, resilience, and advantage that this initial wave brought to the table spawned the first incarnations of Spright for a dominating entry to the game. Upon their release in Power of the Elements, a few different builds such as Evil Twin Spright and Adventure Spright were experimented with. Although they had a decent initial showing, they ultimately fell off in favor of pure Spright with a Frog Engine. The Frog Engine gave sprites access to Totally Awesome, a soft once per turn Omni-Negate that could be revived using Spright Elf. It also gave them the ability to search hand traps using Swap Frog's effect to bounce monsters. By simply special summoning them from the deck using Gigantic Spright or Crystal Hockey Firebreaks, you could then bounce them to your hand, allowing sprites to search hand traps ideal for the matchup. To facilitate this, sprites ran Deep Sea Diva as the ideal normal summon, allowing them to special summon another copy of itself from the deck to go into Crystal Hockey Firebreaks or Gigantic Spright. This version of the deck was also extremely compact, with the main core of the deck only being around 20 cards, allowing you to run a large amount of hand traps and tech cards for additional disruption. These factors would result in pure Spright beating out Elements to become the top deck of the format, maintaining that spot until the banlist of July 2022. The first hits of Spright came in this banlist, in which both Crystal Hockey Firebreaks and Totally Awesome would go from their previously limited statuses to forbidden. The banning of Totally Awesome meant that Spright had to find new options for their endboard, with the post-banlist version of Spright using Union Carrot to equip a Dragon Buster Destruction Sword to lock their opponent's extra deck. The loss of Hockey Firebreaks also meant it was no longer necessary to play Deep Sea Diva, with players switching over to Nimble Beaver for a marginal improvement instead. These adaptations allowed Spright to maintain their presence in the meta, although now firmly in second place to the power of Ishizu Tail Elements. July would also see the release of Darkwing Blast, which added 2 new cards to the Spright arsenal, Spright Sprint and Spright Double Cross. Although Spright Double Cross saw some fringe play, it did very little to impact the metagame outside of the side deck. Spright Sprint, however, gives the deck a sizable power boost, allowing Spright to send Nimble Angler from the deck to special summon 2 Nimble Beavers for extension. Despite this, Spright was unable to rise up, still maintaining a shaky hold on second place. Unfortunately, the worst would come to pass in October 2022, with the banlist banning Union Carrier as well as seeing Swap Frog, Spright Jet, and Spright Starter limited. This banlist would cause Spright to finally lose its spot in the meta for the first time since the deck's release. The story of Spright does not end quite yet. Although the pure build of Spright was severely crippled, Spright continued to live on as an engine for certain decks. July also saw the release of Photon Hypernova, within which Gishki of all things had gotten support. Gishki Spright was a new build that emerged, immediately showing results, although it could not maintain them against the likes of Kashtira and Tail Elements, ultimately failing to make a significant dent in the meta. However, the message sent was clear: Spright was still more than viable as an engine for the right decks. A ton of fate would come with the January 2023 banlist, with both Tail Element and Kashtira receiving several hits, allowing Spright to take a spot in the metagame once more, albeit in a different form. Tri-Brigade Spright was a variant of Spright that had seen some play prior, but was largely overshadowed by its other variants. This version of Spright used the synergy between the Spright cards and the level 2 Tri-Brigade kit to great effect. able to both special summon it from the deck using Gigantic Spright, as well as send it to the graveyard with Spright Sprint. Coupled with the fact that most of the relevant Tri-Brigade links were linked twos, the deck could play under the Spright restriction easily, giving the deck additional options for end boards that Pure Spright did not have access to. With the hits to the competition, Tri-Brigade Spright would seize the opportunity and break back into the meta, ending Spright's temporary absence. The latest iteration of Spright would debut with Cyberstorm Access. With the newly released Ringoworm as well as the previously released Assault Synchron, Spright formed a powerful synchro engine for bestials to make use of, allowing them to access level 8 and level 10 synchros with ease. Sprites were used as an engine in this deck, having use as both extenders as well as supplements to the end board. Together with Tri-Brigade Spright, Bestial Spright would prove to be a viable deck, allowing Spright to maintain presence in the meta, although not as a deck on its own, bringing us to the current day. Not much has changed since then, but with the next banlist right around the corner, who knows what could happen to the meta. For all we know, the changes could be gigantic.